Hello everyone. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at the warm-up. If not, we'll look at it together now. The warm-up says, Mrs. Jones attended a Southern Living home party. She purchased a vase which cost $34.99. The shipping charge was $3 and 8.25% sales tax was paid on the subtotal, which included the shipping charge. How much did she pay for the vase? Okay, well, before we can start calculating her cost, her total cost, we should figure out what her subtotal is. And it's not just the $34.99, we also need to include the shipping charge. So if we add those together, we get a subtotal of $37.99. Okay, now that we have the total, we can start thinking about our total cost. Okay, so because it asks how much did she pay for the vase, we are indeed looking for total cost, which means we should find the total percent. Okay, so not only is she paying 100% of the subtotal, the $37.99, but she's also paying 8.25% tax. So in all, she's paying 108.25% for this item. Now that we have our total percent, we should change it to a decimal so that it can be used in our formula, our equation. You remember, the way we do that is we take our percent, divide by 100, and we should get 1.0825. Now we're ready for our equation. We have the before amount, okay, the amount before anything is added onto, that's your subtotal, times the tax rate, the percent there, will equal the after amount, okay, her grand total. So we have $37.99 times 1.0825 equals, when you multiply those, you should get 41.124175. If you recall, money always ends in the hundredths place. And because this is a 4, it tells us to let the 2 rest. So her grand total will be $41.12. Please go ahead and add to your warm-up as needed and then flip the page so that we can start today's topic. Today, we're going to start learning about gratuity, also known as tip. Gratuity is a small amount of money in return for a service. Okay, so I'm sure that there's been plenty of times where you've heard or seen tip being used. Okay, and once you get your definition written down, I'd like you to add those examples to the brainstorm below. So let's pause the video, take 1 to 2 minutes for yourself to brainstorm when or where you might have seen tip being used. Okay, now that you've had time to brainstorm, I'm going to jot down some of the things I came up with and you can add them to your paper, or you can also have a class share. You might have some better things or some different things that maybe I didn't think of. The first example I have here is the hairdresser. Okay, performs the service of cutting your hair. Generally, if you like what they do, you give them a tip. Same thing at a nail salon. Okay, any type of beauty parlor, things like that. Also, if you have something delivered, okay, like a pizza, okay, you're paying for the service of your food being driven to your house instead of having to go pick it up. Okay, so you usually tip the delivery guy. There are some gas stations who will pump the gas for you. Okay, and in those cases, you would tip the person doing that. Same thing when you get your car washed. Okay, there are people waiting to dry your car, and you generally tip them for doing that service for you. At a hotel, there are lots of opportunities to tip people. Okay, things like room service. Okay, having food delivered to the room. House cleaning. Okay, if they've been cleaning up after you for a week, generally you leave them a little tip. Okay, to say thank you. A bellhop, okay, or valet parking. All great examples of when to leave a tip. Also, if you go on an excursion, maybe go do a safari ride, okay, and there's someone leading the tour, okay, you know, showing you where to go or pointing things out along the way, and generally that's someone that you would tip. Also, when you have a big event, okay, like a wedding, there's lots of folks involved in making sure that that day goes smoothly. There's lots of people to tip along the way, okay, like the limo driver, the musicians, things of that nature. Okay, so feel free to add some of those to your paper and or to share out with each other. Can you all hear Tito getting a drink? Alrighty, tip formula is exactly the same as tax. Okay, the before amount times the percent tip gets you your after amount. So let's put this to use. We have a few examples to do together. In the first example, we'll be finding tip. This one says you went to a coffee house with friends and ordered an iced coffee. Sorry about that. You ordered an iced coffee with friends and dessert, which came to $6.87. If you want to leave a 15% tip, how much should you leave? Okay, so the amount before anything additional was $6.87 times the percent tip, which if you recall, anytime we're putting a percent into an equation, we need to change it to a decimal. So I take 15, divide by 100, you get 0.15. Okay, and then when we multiply, you should be getting 1.0305. We got to do some rounding, and we get $1.03 tip. Okay, so that was very straightforward, just like finding tax is straightforward. You take the before amount times the percent, that gives you your tax or your tip. Okay, for the next example, we're going to find the original given the tip. Okay, so this says Rose and her friends went out to dinner and left a 20% tip. Okay, so they gave you your percent. Okay, and again, we'll change it to a decimal. Okay, your 20% turns into 0.20. If they left a $9.16 tip, what was the cost of their bill? Okay, so this tip was calculated after they got their bill. Okay, so this one's a little backwards. We're actually looking for the before amount. Okay, we're looking for that original cost before any additional tip was added. Okay, so it's the before that we don't have. We do have the percent and we do have the after. Okay, and it's our job to solve for the before. Okay, if you'd like to replace this word with a variable, okay, maybe we use b. That is totally acceptable. And now we can draw the river and solve. Because there's multiplication over here, the opposite is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 0.20. And I get the before amount, okay, B equals $45.80. Okay, so this was the cost of the bill. Okay, that was the amount they paid for their food before leaving tip. If I'm going too fast at any point, feel free to pause and then continue. Example 3. Jonathan went to the barber shop. If the cost of his haircut is $16 and he tipped $2.40, what percent tip did he leave? Okay, so for this one, okay, we have the before. Okay, his haircut cost $16 before anything additional was added. We have the tip, okay, that's your after amount. Okay, and what's missing, okay, is the percent. So when I go to substitute, okay, it'll look something like this: 16 times X, because I don't know that percent, equals $2.40. So I'll draw my river. In order to get X by itself, I need to divide both sides by 16. And you should get X equals 0.15. Now, a lot of you want to stop there, but you have to remember we were talking about a percent, which means we need to take this value and multiply by 100 to turn our decimal back into a percent. So Jonathan left a 15% tip for the barber. When you're ready, flip the page. We have 3 more examples to get through. Example 4. A customer wants to tip 15% on a restaurant bill that is $35. What will be the total bill with tip? Okay, so for this one, okay, not only is this person paying 100% of their bill, they also are paying a 15% tip. Okay, so when they want your total bill, we need to find total percent. In this case, 100% plus 15% is 115%. If I take that, divide by 100, I'm getting 1.15 is the decimal that I should put in my equation for percent. So here we go. Okay, the restaurant bill, okay, the before amount, before tax was added, is $35 times your total percent is 1.15. When you multiply those, you get $40.25. Okay, now that amount is your total bill. Okay, it includes tip. And so this was the bill without tip. This is the bill with tip. Next example. Mr. and Mrs. Green and their 4 children went out to dinner. The restaurant included an 18% tip to the bill. If the total cost of dinner was $84.96, what was the cost of the meal before the tip? Okay, so sometimes when you have a large party, generally more than, 6 people, but sometimes the restaurant will include the tip for you. Okay, and you might want to know, well, how much did the food cost before I paid that 18% tip? Okay, so what's missing here is the before. Okay, we have the after, okay, is 84.96, and we have the percent tip rate is 18%. Okay, so we're ready to substitute. Okay, before becomes your X. Okay, if you want to use B for before, that's perfectly fine. Your percent, we have to be very careful here. I misspoke. Okay, because this is your total cost, okay, we need our total percent. So 100% plus that 18% is what you're paying, right? You're paying 100% of your bill plus 18% tip. And that's what got you to $84.96. Okay, so I'm using 118%, divide by 100, you get 1.18. Sorry about Tito. Okay, and the after amount is $84.96. Draw your river, and we want to solve for X. So the opposite of multiplying by 1.18 is to divide, and we get X equals $72. Okay, was the original cost, or the cost before tip. Okay, when you're ready, scroll down. We have one more to do. Example 6 says, while on vacation, Riley went on a jungle tour. After tipping the driver $24, the excursion cost her $174. If the original cost of the tour was $150, what percent did Riley tip? Okay, so before, after, and percent. Those are the pieces we're looking for. Okay, so if she tipped the driver $24, okay, that's the after amount. Okay, that's what came after the original cost of the tour. And the original cost of the tour was $150. Okay, now there's a little twist in this question because they also give us her total cost. Okay, that's also an after fee. Okay, so after paying the $150, she tipped $124, okay, bringing her grand total to $174. What we're looking for is the percent that she tipped. Okay, so we have the before amount. We don't have the percent, but we know after everything was said and done, she paid $174 for this tour. That's including the tip. So if we want to know the percent that's being tipped, we need to divide by 150. And we get x equals 116. Okay. I believe that's actually 1.16. Okay. But we have to change it to a percent. We get 116%. But you need to recognize that this is your total percent. Okay. Because she's paying 100% of the cost of the tour, okay, I have to subtract that out, and we actually get a 16% tip. Okay. Finish up writing that down, and then what you have on the next couple of pages is some practice problems, as well as your ticket out the door. Good luck, and we'll talk about any questions you have tomorrow.